Hi everyone, this is your second lesson of the week, and I'm only going to go through one question today with you, and then there's some exam questions for you to have a go at. Now, the question on the screen was a really tough question. Well, okay, when I say tough, it was a kind of a new question. I haven't seen one like this before, and I think it was like from one of the papers last year or the year before. So it's an inverse and direct proportion question wrapped up into one. So what I would like you to do is pause the video, have a go at this question on your own. So the tricky thing about this question is that it's three letters. So you've got the letter Y, D, and X, and they're connected in different ways. So Y is connected to D, and D is connected to X, and they want you to find a connection from Y straight to X, so bypassing D. So that's kind of like the idea behind this question. So pause the video now and then see if you can get the answer on your own. Okay, so pause the video. Okay, so let's kind of have a go at this question then, okay? So it's probably best to do it as a step-by-step thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the first two sentences and try and make a formula with Y and D involved. Okay, so what it says is Y is inversely proportional to D squared. So Y is inversely proportional to D squared. That means Y is equal to something divided by D squared. Now, if you write some of this working out, you'll get marks awarded for this. So, maybe writing one of these here probably is a mark in itself. Even if you can't do any of the rest of the question, you can still salvage 1 or 2 marks by writing something down that's appropriate to the question. So this, I think one of these is probably going to be 1 mark. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the letter D, replace the letter D with 10 and Y with 4, and try and work out this constant of proportionality, that K. So 4 is equal to something divided by 10 squared. Okay, so multiplying 10 squared over, so 4 times 10 squared is 400, and that's what K is. So K is 400, so that means Y is equal to 400 divided by D squared. Okay, so that is the formula that connects Y and D squared together. So in our kind of little chain, we now have a connection from the letter Y to get to D. So that's the connection. So it's kind of like a little chain basically. If we know what Y is, we can get to D. Sorry, if we know what D is, we can get to Y and so on. But we now know how these two variables are connected. So what we're going to do is the same process again, but we're going to try and find a connection between D and X now. Okay, so it says D is directly proportional, so directly proportional to X squared. So that means D is directly proportional to X squared. That means D is equal to something times X squared. Okay, so that's the template for what the formula is going to look like. Okay, so X is 2, D is 24. Let's plug those numbers in. So 24 is equal to something times 2 squared. Okay, so dividing 2 squared is 4, isn't it? So 24 divided by 4 is going to tell us what K is. So K is 6. So D is equal to 6x squared. Okay, so that is the connection with D and X. Okay, so Y and D. So how are these connected? What was I forgot what the formula was. Y equals, was it 400 over D squared? I think that's what it was, wasn't it? Okay, and then D to X, they're connected, so D is equal to 6x squared. Okay, now what it is, we need to find a connection that gets us from that connects Y and X together. So it bypasses D altogether, so Y goes to X. Okay, and this is the really cool thing, and it's called substitution. Okay, and if you look at what we have here, let me get a highlighter. The letter D is equal to 6x squared. Okay, so D is equal to 6x squared. So wherever you see the letter D, you can replace it with 6x squared, because this formula is telling us that D is equal to 6 times whatever x squared is. That's how they're connected. So wherever you see the letter D, you can replace it with 6x squared. We have a D here that connects y, and D and y are connected. So we have that letter D there. So what we're going to do is that letter D, we're going to replace it with 6x squared. But because that D on the bottom here is being squared, whenever we replace something, we should always write it in a bracket. So we're going to do that now. So it's kind of like one of the techniques kind of to begin with is if you replace something, try and write it in a bracket. So we're going to replace that D that you see there with 6x squared because that's what it's equal to. So that means y is equal to 400 divided by open bracket 6x squared close bracket squared. So literally that D there, we have replaced it with this. But you have to put a bracket around it because that D is being squared. So we've got a bracket around it and we're going to square it. Now we just need to do a bit of kind of algebra really, kind of to simplify it. Because by the way, if you left that as your final answer, okay, you're probably not going to get the last 1 or 2 marks because it says in its simplest form. Okay, so you're on the right track if you got that, but now we need to simplify it. So we'll do that now. Okay, so we need to do a bit of basic algebra really. 6x squared just means, 6x squared squared just means take 6x squared and multiply it by itself. Well, what would that be? 36, 6 times 6, 36, and x squared times x squared is x to the power 4. Or just remember your basic rules of indices to kind of do that there. So what we're going to do first of all is replace that bottom without a bracket, which would be 36 x to the power 4. Okay, and then we need to do a bit of simplification. Now, there's no x's on the top, so there's nothing to do with the x's. I'm going to leave the x to the power 4 on the bottom. But 430 and over 36, both of those numbers can be divided by 4. 4 goes into 400, and it definitely goes into 36. So I'm going to divide them both by 4, which would be 100. And then 36 divided by 4 is 9. So that's x to the power 4. Now, there's nothing else that goes into 109, sorry, I meant to say. So this is it simplified. That is the answer in its simplest form. And really, that's how y and x are connected. So remember that chain that we had? So y was connected to D, which was connected to x. Well, now we have a connection between y and x, effectively bypassing D itself. And this is the connection. Now you can use that formula to work stuff out, but I don't think the question wants you to work anything out, does it? No, it doesn't. So that is the answer. Okay, that was a really kind of tricky question which caught a lot of people out on a mock exam or the test itself. It wasn't particularly straightforward, and I hope that kind of made sense. Now it's probably a good idea to have a go at some of those exam questions. There's not a lot of them. I've attached the answers, so please mark it. And thank you again for all those people that are marking their own work, because it saves me time to do that, because it takes me ages to kind of check everyone's work and write comments and so on. But thank you for those people that make the effort of marking it themselves. It's great. Even if you just tick it, that's fine. Thank you very much, guys. And remember to email me if there's any topic you want me to cover, any topic at all. So thank you very much, everyone. See you soon.